Greetings, the Hot Sorcerer here, and today we're cooking up one of my favorite meals, Americanized Chinese beef and broccoli. And of course, we'll be kicking up a notch with Sriracha, one of my all-time favorite hot sauces. For this recipe, I'll be using 1.5 pounds of flank steak, but really, you can use pretty much any cut of meat. I'll show you how to tenderize it in this video. One of my favorites is actually to use the flat iron cut, so if you can find that, give it a shot. I'm chopping it in half to make it a bit more manageable, and I'm slicing each piece across the grain with a thickness of about 1/4 of an inch. I'll put a link in the description to a great write-up on this process that I found from The Walk of Life. Really informative and worth reading. Slicing this thin can be a bit tricky, but there are some tricks to make it easier on you. A really sharp knife helps a lot. And you can also try putting the meat in the freezer for about an hour or so to harden it up. Now, I'm going to tenderize this meat. This is a totally optional step. But here I'm tenderizing the meat with 1 tablespoon of baking soda per pound of meat and just enough water to cover the meat. Then I'll put it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes or so. Again, if you want to learn more, check out that Walk of Life article linked below. While that's in the refrigerator, let's make the beef marinade. In a medium-sized bowl, mix 1 egg, about 1 tablespoon of salt and pepper each, half a cup of rice wine vinegar, around 2 tablespoons of chopped ginger, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, the kind from a jar. If you're using fresh garlic, that's probably about 2 cloves or so. Then a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 chopped green onion, stalk and all, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. If you can't find cornstarch, actually several of my grocery stores were actually out, which is weird. The internet says you can use xanthan gum. And finally, the secret ingredient du jour, about 2 tablespoons of sriracha sauce. Give that a good mix. If you opted to tenderize the meat, pull it out of the refrigerator and thoroughly wash all the baking soda off. Then just pour the sauce over your meat, mix well, and refrigerate for at least 30 minutes. While that's marinating, chop up about 2 cups of broccoli florets. You could do more. I probably made a little too little broccoli for this dish, and I actually used pre-chopped broccoli out of the bag. You know, it's good to be lazy. And now we'll make the actual sauce for this dish. In a medium bowl, mix 1/4 cup of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 4 tablespoons of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of honey. I'm using some spicy habanero honey I picked up in Savannah, Georgia. 2 tablespoons or more of sriracha. And finally, about 1/4 cup of water. You can use beef broth here, but honestly, I really can't tell the difference. And then just whisk it up. While the beef is still marinating, we can go ahead and get our rice prepped. Don't start cooking it until you start cooking the meat, but it's pretty simple. 1 cup of long grain rice to about 1.5 cups of water. I find this is the best ratio for the kind of stickiness that we want here. And then just press the rice button on the Instant Pot when you're ready to start cooking. It should take about 15 minutes. Alright, time to blanch the broccoli. Bring a pot of water, maybe around 4 cups, to boil and dump in your broccoli. Then let it boil for around a minute. You don't really want to cook these too long or you'll end up with that mushy, pale green broccoli we all had to eat in government school. After a minute, I dumped the broccoli into ice water to stop the cooking process. This probably is overkill. Just throwing them into a strainer and dousing them with cold water is easier and just as effective. Alright, the rest is pretty simple. Fire up your wok on medium-high heat. Add a bit of oil. I'm using some sesame oil here for some extra flavor. And cook the beef. You don't really need to strain out the marinade, but just try to get as much beef into the pan and not very much marinade. And if you haven't already, you should be cooking your rice in your Instant Pot for 15 minutes. After around 8 minutes or so of cooking the beef, dump in the broccoli and your sauce. Reduce heat a bit and cook for about 3 to 5 minutes. Really just waiting for the sauce to thicken up with all that cornstarch in it. I also add a few sesame seeds for extra flavor. After the sauce thickens up, that's pretty much it. Serve with rice and attempt to use the chopsticks. Thanks for watching.